The Impulse. Introduction. We are in a time of great transition, for some a time of great upheaval, a time in which traditional systems and habituated ways of acting seem to be failing or at least faltering. We are in a time in which we are individually and collectively called to a new manner of living, a higher way of relating to each other and of interacting with the world in which we live. While some declare that it is business as usual, many feel a significant change is upon us in our personal lives and as a species. Global warming, pollution, exponentially increasing information, advancing technology, crippling diseases, modern medicine, the media, economic uncertainty, war, revolutions in physics and other sciences, and all manner of changes seem to tax our ability to cope to the limit and herald a needed shift in our perspective on ourselves as conscious beings. Change is often perceived as threatening and resisted by many, yet, as the old adage states, the only certainty is change. This age is by no means entirely unique in our recorded history, but this period involves unprecedented levels of change on all fronts. In particular, a transformation in our awareness of ourselves and in our interactions with each other appears paramount for our individual happiness and for our survival as a species. There is, in my perception, a great key to good relations among people, a fundamental basis of harmonious interaction. For some, this is mutual respect for one another. For others, it is constitutional rights or religious commandments, and for still others, it is tolerance, a manner of conduct exemplified by many noble teachers who were later heralded as the founders of numerous major religions of today. For many, this key is the golden rule: to feel about and act toward others in the manner in which you would like them to feel and act toward you. While all of these are invaluable ways of interrelating with one another, they are, at their heart, the innate result of acting from the truth of the deep nature of self. Many years back, I was profoundly impressed listening to a tape recording — there was indeed a time before digital — by a man who ran major think tanks in the United States for government and large corporations. His responsibility was to organize and coordinate the work of different groups of scientists, engineers, and various experts, to bring all together in one place to find the answer to a pressing corporate question or resolve a significant political issue. What struck him most powerfully was that every time he performed this function, there would come a time, within 40 days, when one in the group would state the solution and that all present would agree that this is the exact answer they were seeking. He went on to clarify that this solution was not a compromise, rather it was a consensus, and that it did not appear to be deduced by logic, but instead seemed to be perceived as if the sincere intentions of all present to find a resolution somehow created one, in a realm of consciousness to which they were all attuned by their earnest, coordinated desires as a group. He considered his leadership role to be one of helping everyone to focus their attention on the task at hand, to move beyond ego-based positions of looking good, sounding important, or desiring to control others or the situation, so that a natural process of co-creative harmony could be evoked and the solution could be coalesced by the group until the presence of the answer was apparent to them all. Further to this, there are innumerable informal and scientific research accounts of what is at times referred to as the 100th monkey effect, whereby a behavior that begins within a small group of individuals of a certain species is suddenly observed in the general species once a critical number is reached, similar to tipping the scales. While many deny this possibility, there is a growing body of evidence supporting the reality of such an effect. One piece of this puzzle is the result of many years of research, including 50 demonstration projects and 23 published scientific studies involving at times thousands of people engaged in the meditative practice generally known as TM. During such inner peace-focused group work, measured levels of violent crime, terrorism, death rates, and war dropped significantly in the surrounding population. The great challenge for many is understanding how this is possible, since each of us generally appears to act and be independent of one another. The awareness of the interconnectedness of all beings and all life is quite ancient, and is indicated in the practices of many indigenous cultures, in ancient texts such as the Vedas, in more modern times by the theory of the collective unconscious, proposed by renowned psychiatrist Carl Jung, and by the theory of morphic fields, proposed by scientist Rupert Sheldrake, and most recently in movies such as The Secret. The effect of our conscious intentions and often unconscious beliefs on ourselves, each other, and our world is increasingly being acknowledged in the popular media, science, and medicine. Yet, is there a core something that ties all this together? Perhaps this something is like the pair of eyeglasses that we frantically seek in every conceivable place, only to eventually find them sitting gingerly perched atop our head. Perhaps it is so common and so much in plain sight that for most people it goes unnoticed. Perhaps this something is the very consciousness that constitutes you as a conscious being, and that we all live in a vast sea of consciousness that some term energy, although energy for me only touches upon the aliveness that is intrinsic in the nature of consciousness itself. Perhaps this consciousness embodies qualities that are foundational to us all, a desire and ability to express, to explore, and to know self. Indeed, the ancient Greek aphorism, "Know thyself," which was inscribed thousands of years ago in the forecourt of the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, has inspired many throughout the centuries. One of these was the Roman poet Juvenal, who, in a discussion of moderation and self-awareness, quoted the phrase in Greek and stated that the precept descended from heaven. Although generally perceived as a simple matter of personal choice to explore within or not, the greater truth may well be that this urge, this impulse, arises from a deep fundamental level that ultimately cannot be denied. This urge cannot be satisfied by material accumulation of more stuff, or by mental accrual of new ideas. It shows itself in midlife crisis, when individuals often seek a more profound sense of purpose to their life. It shows itself in the increasing mass use of antidepressants and visits to psychiatrists and psychologists in an effort by many to quell the rising tide of unresolved emotions and life events. It shows itself in the rising up from time to time of nations of people who rebel against the tyranny of a few and demand improved freedom of expression. Deep truth lies in an open heart and compassionate mind, and when this truth is humbly expressed and lived in the world, it is recognized as part of the greater truth, the truth that powerfully touches most people and results in enhanced harmony on all levels. There is a fundamental choice, a choice about where we locate our sense of self, our sense of I. We can choose, often by default, to move further in the direction of living from a position of being self-centered and ego-based identities associated with possessions, ideologies, social prejudices, and habituated patterns of being. Or we can choose to live from a place of being centered in self, the capital S presence that is our deeper truth of who we are as conscious beings. Each choice carries with it consequences for ourselves, the human species, and this world. Yet whether we choose to be centered in self or self-centered, the impulse remains and grows in intensity. Do you feel the call? Do you sense the urge? Do you choose to respond to the impulse?